In New Delhi, Digvijay Singh Deo.
And joining us tonight, Jagbir Singh, former Indian hockey coach and former Indian hockey player, Harsha Bhogle, cricket commentator, talking for once on hockey rather than cricket. Shailendra Singh, joint managing director of Percept Ltd. He's going to tell us why the sponsors don't pay for hockey. And Gaurav Kalra, sports editor of CNN IBN. Thanks, gentlemen, very much indeed. Can hockey get back its standing as India's national sport? That's the question we're asking on the show tonight. Jagbir Singh, my first question to you, Jagbir, is that, you know, we're celebrating, but what has happened actually is that India has just qualified for the Olympics. We haven't yet won. Are we celebrating a little too early?
No, not rightly so. It's just that because we had missed the birth in 2008 and now since people didn't believe that Indian hockey could just get back so soon, and with in style what we have performed against France in the finals, I think that's the celebration we are talking about. The celebration we are talking about is the confidence coming back to the players. The celebration we are talking about, the aggression, the attacking hockey, which India has always been so very popular of. The celebration which we are talking about, the crowd showing their sentiments once again, how much they believe in Indian hockey, and the emotions all together when you play in that field, packed stadiums. It's all about hockey. It's all about India.
It's all about hockey and all about India. Harsha Bhogle, we have a wonderful sports ground, that hockey ground. Do you see hockey regaining its stature now as the national sport?
Well, it'll depend on how hockey is run, isn't it, Sagarika? I mean, Jagbir knows that very well. For years, Indian hockey has been treated callously. It's been treated cruelly. It's almost as if someone's put it down, head underwater. If Indian hockey is treated well, if the new coach, who's obviously getting it right with the players, is given a free hand, if you're allowed to go back and enjoy playing hockey for India, of course it can. Why not? On the celebration issue, of course we must celebrate, Sagarika, because if we don't celebrate, then you don't remember the moment. You can't let moments just go into the, just sort of vanish into the sunset. So I think, yes, we must celebrate. Yes, I think the future can be very bright, provided we look at it with a sense of perspective. What I'd like to know is if the younger generation has the same emotional attachment that my generation has. Because I wept in 1973 when Govinda missed a penalty stroke, Surjit Singh hit a couple of goals. I celebrated in school in 1975 when we won the World Cup, the 1980 Moscow goal. I don't know if that emotional connect exists with the 15, 16-year-olds, and that is why we must celebrate what happened yesterday.
We must celebrate what happened yesterday. Shailendra Singh, a lot of that celebration is about money, it's about sponsorships, it's about media attention, it's about corporate attention. Will the corporate sector turn its attention to hockey increasingly?
Well, Sagarika, I think nothing succeeds like success, and I think that has been put in perspective yesterday. I think we can take a lot of inspiration from the incident yesterday. This could be the rags to riches story for hockey, in my personal opinion, and you should take inspiration from a movie, Invictus, where Nelson Mandela, it's a true story about how he picked up rugby. South African rugby, what is its lowest. He walked in as the president of South Africa, picked up that sport, and in that year, South Africa was hosting rugby. Being the lowest ranked team, it won the World Cup. Can you believe it? So I personally believe that it takes some time, just a spark to light a forest fire, and I think that has happened. But having said that, sports in our country is about icons. So you do need icons. I mean, you know, it's based on hero models. So I think Sandeep Singh, when I saw him shooting the goals and raising his one finger in the center of the field, I saw a hockey icon last night. I also saw that the federation now also needs to understand that there is a connect between the two. And if they invest in building the image of the sport and create a few icons, I think the sponsors are not going to go anywhere, because sponsors are dying to create India into a sporting nation and look for alternate sports beyond cricket.
Right, beyond cricket. Let me put that to you, Gaurav Kalra. What's the difference between a Sandeep Singh and a Mahendra Singh Dhoni? Will there ever be a time when Sandeep Singh dislodges a Mahendra Singh Dhoni? In a nutshell, what has cricket got right that hockey's got wrong?
Well, lots of things. Harsha's mentioned that, but I think that the more important thing is that we've got to realize that this was level 2. And the task is really about getting to level 1. Winning is cultivating a winning habit's very important. And Sagarika, what I noticed yesterday at the stadium, unlike all of these guys, I was
You
there.
were actually there,
Yes.
participating and waving the tricolour, I'm sure.
Well, I wasn't waving the tricolour, but no one gave me one. But I think that the important thing yesterday was that one noticed there's an appetite for the sport. That's the starting point. If there's an appetite for the sport, everything builds from there. And Harsha spoke about the emotional investment of the younger generation. He's right about about that because the younger generation is distracted by a lot of the, well, so-called glamour sports, Formula One, EPL, and that's fair enough. That's the way of the world now. But I think that what is positive, and Jagbir was telling me this when I saw some of the games with him, was that the younger talent is in India with the hockey players is something the expert eye is believing is very strong, and that's a positive sign.
That the younger talent that now exists within the hockey team. Jagbir, and what would you attribute that talent to? Is it the kind of coaching that is now available? Is it the kind of energy that is required? Is India finally developing that kind of physical fitness now required for international hockey? And do you think someone like Sandeep Singh would actually stand up to worldwide competition?
See, we still remember Ajit Pauting lifting that 1975 World Cup. This is where I got inspired to play hockey. Otherwise, I never wanted to say it, but I would say cricket was my first sport when I started playing. But then it was that inspiration, watching all these stars play in Agra. That's where I started playing. I picked up hockey for the first time, even though my father had been insisting. So I really believe that we need to build in more star value. But most of all, we need to come together. There are so many reasons. It's not always on the field which matters. So many things happening off the field which matter ultimately to the performance of the team. And unfortunately, Indian hockey had been going through a very turmoil. But let me tell you, the first time things have started changing for the last 3 tournaments since Michael Nobbs has come in. You've got a good physiologist, fortunately, and they've been given enough time. 5 years' time for a coach to prepare a team has happened for the first time, and results are showing now. 3 tournaments, 3 finals, winning 2, and nothing coming in such a success, playing at home in front of your crowd.
Right. Harsha, but I want to pick up Jagbir's point and put it to you about creating stars, creating icons, and creating that connect with the younger generation. That also depends on winning. You know, I've just received a tweet from a viewer who said that the reason why Dhyan Chand became that generation Sachin Tendulkar was because India was winning at that time. Now, can Indian hockey actually get in those wins? Because unless the winning starts, you don't get the eyeballs. Unless the eyeballs come, you don't get the sponsorships, you don't get the media. And unless the media and it's a kind of chicken and egg situation. So is Indian hockey on a winning streak?
Which is why we need to be realistic about what we've achieved. Which is why I enjoyed what Michael Nobbs said. We take a week off and then we go back to getting faster and fitter because the challenge that lies ahead is greater. So we need to put what we have in perspective. What we have shown is in the right ambience, we have the ability to play to a certain level. That is what we know. What we do not know yet is if we can turn it on against Germany, against Holland, against Australia, against England, against Spain. We need to find that out. But unfortunately, sometimes in India, we tend to look at everything as being 0 or 1. Now, Indian hockey was regarded as 0 all along. We need to be careful to see that it's not regarded as 1. And there's a reason for that. I think there's a generation that is more sports-driven than any other before. And that was because of television. And they like to see India win. They like to see India projected a certain way. And, I mean, you're forced with the kind of programs you do. But the people who are on your program every day are not the people that the youngsters look up and say, wow, India. So if Indian hockey keeps on winning, it will generate that kind of impact. But I think we need to be careful of what we've achieved and what lies ahead.
I want to read out another tweet that I've got, that hockey is part of the socialist license permit Raj. Most hockey players work in PSUs like Air India, state agencies, Punjab Police. Cricket has democratized. Cricket has gotten